All right, so today's video is quite something. We have a bit of a long video again today because the Discord rabbit hole goes even deeper than we anticipated. So just to give you guys a really quick recap, essentially Discord in early March is planning out on rolling changes where users have to use face identification or face ID in order to verify exactly if they are, adults or not. And if you don't do that, you basically get put in teen settings where you don't have to, where you're stuck there and you can't access like NSFW stuff and all that. So naturally there's been a lot of pushback against this. However, um it's a bit worse than we thought because Discord has quite a bit of a partner that are partnered with, but we'll get into that a bit later. And actually, even in like recent months, it's been noted that the Department of Homeland Security has actually sent lots of subpoenas to places like Google, Reddit, Discord, Meta, and all that stuff. And so, and especially specifically looking to look at finding out who's been criticizing ICE or not. And naturally, you criticize ICE, there's consequences, so they say. And something interesting that I actually didn't take note of in my last video talking about this Discord verification is that somebody actually used a VPN in the UK to see how this stuff like works. And if you actually take a look, you'll see a little company on the bottom right, and it says Persona. Now, unfortunately, I did not play the video game, so naturally, we should have been moving about that. But here, if you actually keep going into it, you can see what exactly is Persona. So you actually take a look, and they're just known for doing ID verifications for different people. Yeah, it's your regular standard website. You have different projects, different technologies that they show off, blah blah blah, corporate stuff. You know how it goes. However, there's something of note from Persona. So actually, they published themselves on the 30th of April in 2025 that they are doing a $200 million Series D. And so, as it says here, as knowing who's behind an online interaction becomes more important than ever, we're doubling down on making identity verification simple, secure, and human for any business and any use case. So this is something that's been in use for quite some time. And here is where it gets really interesting. And so here it says, this is why I'm excited to share that we've raised $200 million Series D led by Founders Fund and Ribbit Capital, with participation from existing investors, including Bond, Chemistry, Coatu, Management, First Round, and Index Ventures. Now, there's a company name I need you to pay attention to. Founders Fund. So if you actually go to their website and see what they do, it seems that they're in quite a bit of projects. And there's a particular man that I want to highlight, and his name is Peter Thiel. And so, according to here, Peter Thiel is an entrepreneur and investor. He co-founded PayPal, led it as CEO, and took it public. He made the first outside investment in Facebook, and he co-founded Palantir Technologies, where he serves as chairman. He has provided early funding for LinkedIn, Yelp, and dozens of startups, many run by former colleagues who have been dubbed the PayPal Mafia. He is a partner at Founders Fund, a Silicon Valley venture capital firm that has funded companies including SpaceX and Airbnb. He started the TL Fellowship, which funds young entrepreneurs, and he leads the TL Foundation, which works to advance technological progress and long-term thinking. He is also the #1 New York Times bestselling author of 0 to 1 Notes on Startups and How to Build the Future. So this guy is actually interconnected into a lot of different things, as you will note. However, unfortunately, due to many different interesting ties that we're going to get into later, this is not such a clean story as you're going to see. But first, let's take a look at the Palantir Technologies because they are involved into a lot of stuff, and that's really the meat and potatoes of what I want to focus on. So let's get started. Palantir Technologies is essentially a giant data company. So they have different data such as counterintelligence, they have law enforcement data, they have stuff about healthcare. Basically, that's where a lot of stuff goes in and out of. So they actually have a lot of information into that. Even if you look at what they say, what they do, they also say here, Palantir makes software which organizations use to better manage their data, improve their operations, and serve the people who rely on them. They would say here that we're proud that essential organizations, including those delivering life-saving assistance, improving health outcomes, and manufacturing aircraft fleets, and securing and defending the West, depend on our software platforms to deliver their most vital mission outcomes and further institutional trust within the communities they serve. So essentially, anytime, any form of data that's out there, like security-wise, that Palantir has information on it. And even if you keep going down, they even say here Like, we make digital infrastructure that enables organizations to operate in complex data environments. We help our customers across the public, private, and nonprofit sectors overcome common challenges associated with fractured data landscapes in which their data is split across different systems and formats. And they even say here as well, our software provides our customers with the capabilities to integrate those sources into a common platform in which they can build effective data management and analytics and operations. Many of our customers also use our platforms to build or deploy AI to further enhance their operations in responsive, reliable, and impactful ways. So that's something that's also very worth of noting. So essentially, all your big law enforcements, they eventually do use this, like the CIA uses the stuff and all that. And even in their transparency and engagement, which, people have been very critical of them, they even say here, our software features among complementary capabilities, audit logs, and transparent data flows, which enable regulators and governance bodies to ensure that the software has been used legally and responsibly. Now, up to you to believe that, if it's true or not, but that's what they say. And I even found this little chart here that actually shows like their big milestones, and so it's sourced from themselves. So that's just what it is. And so here we have, of course, like 2003, like they were founded, of course. In 2008, they get CIA funding backed by In-Q-Tel and begin deep collaboration with U.S. intelligence. And here is the big one that we're going to look into in a bit. 2010, the Gotham system gets deployed. And this was apparently used in the Iraq and Afghanistan war for anti-terror and IED tracking. And of course, they had stuff like the Foundry launch and then COVID response and AI platforming and defensive AI, this and that. So that's where they are now. However, the Gotham system is what we're going to be looking at, because apparently, even into like other cases such as like the Boston bomber, the Palantir's data was used to find stuff like that, and even Bernie Madoff's like Ponzi schemes was looked into. But well, that's all fine and dandy. How does this stuff work? Well, lucky for you, I found some documentation about Gotham, which is pretty handy to know. So we're going to read into it and see what exactly it does, because that's kind of important to know. And so we're going to see how it works, and then we're going to actually take a look into some other stuff as well. Now, introduction here, it says, Palantir Gotham is a proven end-to-end commercial off-the-shelf platform for AI-enabled defense, intelligence, and law enforcement operations. It enables secure collaboration, intelligence analysis, and investigations to support frontline operations, specialized investigations, multi-jurisdictional, strategic intelligence, operations, and strategic initiatives. It is the result of more than a decade of partnerships with military, intelligence, and law enforcement agencies. Palantir Gotham is operationally deployed in some of the world's most hostile environments for both international and national security across all Five Eyes nations and coalition partners, NATO members, and some of the world's largest listed companies. So that's quite a lot. So imagine this, right? Essentially, you have like a camera, okay, in your neighborhood, and this is just like hypothetical here. You have a camera in your neighborhood. That camera feed goes to wherever that is stored, and say Palantir will have that, and that's all connected to their giant network. And so say, for example, you commit a crime in your neighborhood, okay, they'll look at, a lot of law enforcement could look at, okay, let's look at the camera footage from here. Okay, this person's wearing this, they're in this neighborhood, so using some AI technology, we'll cross-reference that and get a match for somebody that looks like this, which is why we are here now. So that's kind of a short version of how it works. And so here, they actually explain even further. Palantir solves the problem of increasing data and threat complexity by bringing together data, users, and analysis into a single cohesive platform, rather than working in isolation with data siloed across disparate systems. Authorized users from across an organization can search, access, and analyze the same data foundation and share data with their peers. Under the platform's fine-grained security model, all platform application and features are backed by stringent platform-wide security. In addition, the platform incorporates and leverages Palantir Foundry's capabilities, offering a suite of analytical and operational applications which accommodate a wide range of workflows with a unified, interoperable solution. The platform enables operational advantage and proactive deterrence for military, law enforcement, and intelligence agencies by providing a common operating picture, COP, and common intelligence picture, KIP, and by supporting intelligence collections and production, investigative network analysis at a scale, and analyze mission information from multiple systems in real time, and to work collaboratively and securely across the operating environment to achieve successful mission outcomes. Palantir Gotham combines the following capabilities in a single unified ecosystem. So, I'll leave this up on the screen for you guys to read, like if you want to read the other features here. So, remember I said about the camera, your camera's here. Instead of saying neighborhood A has this amount of footage and it's only here and you can only look at this section, and neighborhood B has also this information. What this system does is that it actually combines those two together into one giant network. So say, for example, man in black pants is, man in black pants in neighborhood A wearing size 8, I don't know, Air Force Ones. So what it will do is you can actually look across, does that match in this neighborhood here? Does that match in the neighborhood there? And you can even see on screen, I'm going to show, like, you will see on screen as well, like that's how it works. And of course, it gets more complicated as more operations go, but I'm just trying to explain this in layman's terms so that, we know how it works. So every time you walk past CCTV, that is basically, you are basically in the system. So no one is safe, literally anywhere. And that's how people know, that's how law enforcement gets their info. And so, while that is really interesting, I did find this Twitter post that kind of also elaborates a bit more into like what Palantir does. And so he says here from Alex Vaca, he says, from fingerprints, bank records, license plates, phone logs, social media, sensor feeds, documents, you name it, it can all be found. It can all find your secrets and then predict every action that you'll do. That's why it's not just helping governments, which is why companies are always trying to access your data every single time. So in the case of Discord, if they have your ID, all right, they already have your driver's license, they already have your ID in terms of like your workplace, they already have that. If they have Discord gets it, guess what? Now we have even more ways to track what you're doing. Because as it is right now with Discord, people don't know who you are at all. And it's not in the database of what it is. Because some people can have fake numbers, some people can have fake emails or like burner emails they don't use. And that's not enough to track somebody. But if you have Face ID and you tie it to somebody, guess what? And that's how they track you even further. So this diagram is actually really handy in terms of that. And so how does this really tie into like our current controversies? Well, it turns out that Palantir has actually been like collaborating or with the tied together with the Homeland Security. This is actually from themselves. This is a 2022 article, but they also say here that announced today that the Department of Homeland Security renewed its contract to support Homeland Security investigations with investigative case management software. The contract is worth $95.9 million over a 5-year period. So while ICE is controversial in now, and people are talking about it now, Palantir has been been with this stuff since literally the Obama administration. So many decades, well, not decades, but many years ago. And even it says here, since 2011, Palantir has partnered with HSI to advance its mission of investigating and preventing transnational crime and high-level threats that exploit international trade, travel, and financial infrastructure. And says HSI's core mission includes combating human trafficking and child exploitation, dismantling international drug trafficking organizations, disrupting cyber criminals, preventing identity and benefit fraud, and the investigation of international war crimes. So yeah, quite a bit. And even here it also says like stuff like this is located in 225 cities across like America. So very, very massive information network that they want. And guess what? Discord is their way to do it again. And even looking even further, even up till now, you'll see that they actually partnered with ICE again. Well, not again, but they partnered with ICE, saying here that U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has partnered with Palantir Technologies, a Denver-based software company co-founded by billionaire entrepreneur Peter Thiel, to use artificial intelligence and data mining to identify, track, and deport suspected non-citizens. Palantir is slated to deliver a prototype of the Immigration OS platform by September 25th, with the contract running through September 2027. ICE is paying Palantir $30 billion for the platform. So that's actually peanuts they're paying for. And remember how I said in the earlier example about, neighborhood and description? So let's alter the man in black pants, okay? We'll change it to, let's say, I don't know, illegal Mexican wearing a white shirt, okay? Now, if you use that prompt in the system, it's going to literally cross-reference every single instance where someone who on average has the features of like a Mexican person and is wearing a white shirt and the system deems likely illegal, and then guess what? Now you have that. That's where you are now. So it's really, really, really all connected at the end of the day. But let's actually talk about what Immigration OS even is. And so it says here, according to government documents, Immigration OS is ICE's next generation enforcement tool. It has three main components: targeted enforcement, prioritization, self-deportation tracking, and immigration life cycle management. So it's basically making the deporting process a lot easier. And so, for example, if you have my face and it deems that I'm illegal, it's going to say, all right, well, since you are illegal and you fit the profile, you fit the description, we ran you through the whole software, and it turns out that your papers are not in the system. Guess what? We can get rid of you. So that's where we are now, which is kind of insane to me. And guess what I said earlier, and I'll say it again. Discord ties into this because Palantir is just getting more information to do more operations such as this, which is why I always say, don't give them your information. But what if I told you that actually one of their founders is a bit odd, to say the least? And odd, I'm saying odd in a way of a compliment, because that's one way to put it. Now, Mr. Thiel is kind of interesting because he has this real obsession with the Antichrist, or he's.
You know, I should not need to remind you that in the in the sort of quasi-mythological New Testament account, the slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety, and that there is you know, we're told that there's nothing worse than Armageddon, but perhaps there is. Perhaps we should fear the Antichrist. Perhaps we should fear the one world totalitarian state more than Armageddon.
Really much afraid of about the Antichrist coming, the apocalypse, all that. Here's a brief definition up on screen for you guys to read, in case you want to know what that is. But he's really much fearful of that whole concept. And so he even has a 4-part lecture series that you could have bought tickets to. And it was on, and he had 4 lectures, which is, I think it coincides with the four stages of like the apocalypse or something. But it says here like September 15th, September 22nd, and September 29th, and October 6th. And it's, by the way, it's non-transferable and it's non-refundable. But how about we just read what it's about before we keep going? So on the bottom here it says, you are warmly invited to a series of 4 lectures by Peter Thiel addressing the topic of the biblical Antichrist. Peter is a technology entrepreneur and investor who spent much of his career writing and speaking about how his Christian faith informs his understanding of the world. His remarks will be anchored on science and technology and will comment on the theology and history, literature, and politics of the Antichrist. Religious thinkers upon whom Peter will draw include René Girard, Francis Bacon, Jonathan Swift, Carl Schmitt, and John Henry Newman. These lectures are off the record. The lectures are designed as a cohesive series, with each session building on the last to support continuity and community. Tickets are only available for the full 4-part program. So, yeah, he's very much into that stuff. Now, unfortunately, the irony is that, you know, at least the current, I guess, the Antichrist people talk about now is, of course, Jeffrey Epstein. Now, how is he connected, you may ask? Well, let's actually see what he has to say about Epstein first, and then we'll mention it.
You know, I met Epstein a few times as well, and I think...
How'd you get introduced?
It was Reid Hoffman in Silicon Valley introduced us in 2014, but it was basically, and I you know, didn't check, didn't ask enough questions about it, but I think there were sort of a lot of things where it was fraudulent. I do think Epstein knew a lot about taxes, and there were probably, you know, these complicated ways you could structure a nonprofit organization, especially as a way in a marital context that I think Epstein might have known a decent amount about.
Now, for someone who's only met Epstein a few times, apparently, as it's noted, he appears at least 2,200 times in the latest batch of the Epstein files. Now, I am not going to go through all those files because that is a lot to get through, but some key things that I do want to note is that a lot of it was like asking for lunch. So for instance, in here, this email where he's sending to somebody, where Epstein is sending to Peter Attia, he says, "Where are you? I might be in LA Monday, Burbank to look at the interior of the other BBJ tonight. Dinner with Musk, TL, and Zuckerberg." So this picture actually points out where Musk and Zuckerberg are. So quite a dinner to say here. It's quite interesting. And of course, G vacation is of course his email. However, going into the next one, we have even here, Mr. TL also has he sent an email. So he says here, certainly not in Saudi. Just think I will avoid the Middle East for the next decade or so. Should be back on East Coast in late April, Monday, sometime in New York or on island. Then keep going. As you probably know, I represent the Rothschild. I was hoping to figure out a way for the bank that has 160B in management can do something in tech. Best client list in the world. Prehistoric products. It can wait. Good luck in China. I'll be in Europe again, 20 to 28. Then island, if so. So if you want to come around the world going west, come to island, or if you want to like to meet in Saudi Arabia at the end of the month. So keep going here, and it says even Mexico. So they actually had a lot of plans. Okay, but yeah, there's more. So here also you have something like Elisa Beckons. So it says here, "Hi Elisa, he most certainly is. Jeffrey looks forward to seeing him. Thank you so much for bells. Greatly appreciated." And if you even look again, it says here, Peter mentioned he is heading to Jeff's tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. In the event they eat breakfast, here is a list of Peter's dietary restrictions for your chef. Please let me know if anything changes or if you need anything. And yeah, that's quite a bit. For someone you've only met a few times, it's pretty interesting that there's quite a lot of emails. But that's just how it is. So don't worry about that. However, there's more still. And so it actually turns out that TL is actually very much, because Silicon Valley is like a few people, few quote unquote, like few tech companies. But however, there's lots of money going in and out of it. And so even here it's noted that he's actually quite tied into the Trump administration. So here you have also says, since Trump was elected, Palantir stock soared more than 90%. And in February, Anduril Industries, which is also founded by him, landed an expanded role in a deal with the US Army, and it could be valued at more than 20 billion. And this week before that announcement, it was reported that Anduril's valuation could be doubled thanks to a 2.5 billion funding led by Founders Fund, which we know that Mr. TL is involved. And so even moving on forward, he actually donated quite a bit to Vance's, JD Vance is of course the vice president. And so here, it says here, and big donors, particularly from the tech sector, provided the rocket fuel he needed to advance in electoral politics. Vance's most prominent benefactor over the years is Peter Thiel, the iconoclastic tech pioneer and investor. Thiel hired Vance at his global investment firm in 2017, and then nurtured Vance's political rise, donating $15 million to his 2022 Ohio State campaign, helping him win a closely fought GOP primary before going on to capture the seat in the general election. So he's very much intertwined in all of this stuff, and he's even on record saying he's very pro Trump and pro Vance and all that. And even just a final note, something final worth noting here is that Yahoo Finance actually was like tracking where his money was flowing, and so in a summary here it says, so he has about 300,000 went to the National Republican Congressional Committee. He had 54,000 went to Republican National Committee. Again, then he had 10,000 apiece to GOP state parties in 14 states. Then he had 7,000 apiece, 29 House Republicans, most of whom represent competitive districts, and 7,000 apiece to committees set up for the eventual GOP nominee in 12 other competitive House districts. So somebody who's very much involved in everything. And at the end of the day too, he did also support Trump in 2016. So this is all connected. So this just gives you a whole idea of where everyone's priorities lie. But what does this all mean? What this all means that with everything that we know so far, and every single company trying to get your info, trying to get as much personal information as possible, it just ties into literally, I hate saying this, but 1984 again, saying, oh, Big Brother's watching, where basically they're just trying to know what you're doing at all times, which is why they don't like stuff like VPNs. That's why they don't like stuff like it gives you any form of anonymity, and that's why Discord is trying to get your information, because it's just another tool for people to find out, or entities to find out where you are and what you are doing at this time. And of course, right now, it's of course people trying to find out what's anti-ICE, but in the future it could be something else, like maybe I don't know, anti-government or something at that point. And even then, like, it's something actually like ironic too, is that Discord was actually used to overthrow, I think, the Nepal government like like months ago. So Discord is a very powerful tool that can be used, especially if it's, in the wrong hands, which is why most people are going to be getting off of it, and which is why I always say, don't give it your information you don't have to. So that's how Discord is tied into everything. It's just another way for people to understand, or just, figure out, all right, well, we know you're on Discord now, we know what you're doing. That's great. So yeah, it's all connected, guys. That's the moral of the story. It's all interconnected. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow my social in the description below. But yeah, well, that was quite a deep dive. Hopefully our next video is not as deep as this one. So yeah, stay safe. Keep your data safe. I'll see you later. Ciao, ciao.